Everyone, welcome to the PoliticAL update with me, Alexandra Acker-Lyons. I pay attention to the political news so you don't have to. It is Friday, July 11th, 2025. Okay, announcements. The Good Trouble protest will be happening on July 17th, the anniversary of John Lewis's birthday. You can go to goodtroubleliveson.org and sign up to find a protest near you. Um, I love celebrating all things John Lewis. If you have not read his autobiography, it's incredible. He also has a series of kids' graphic novels about the civil rights movement that are amazing. So wear your Good Trouble gear and hit the streets. Shout out of the week is going to Katie Gaspard. I mentioned her a few weeks ago because she is an online social media influencer who did a collaboration with Social Goods to benefit Women Count with the AOC quote, I will not yield to disrespectful men. My merch arrived last week. It's super fun. But her Instagram feed just gives me joy. She kind of collects like the best memes and posts and things that people have said throughout the week, and they're so funny. So you can go to her Instagram page, Katie Gospard, Grossbard. We need joy. Okay, lots of candidate news, as I predicted, coming right after the end of the fundraising quarter. So, and we're getting those fundraising numbers in. We don't have everyone's yet, so I'm going to wait and talk about those after July 15th when we have all of the numbers in. Joni Ernst is on retirement watch. I kind of am divided as to whether or not I'd rather run against her or have it be an open seat. But watch this space for more news on Iowa. Dan Osborne has announced he is going to take another run at the Senate seat in Iowa. I'm sorry, Nebraska, running as an independent. This is a huge part of the Expand the Map strategy. He is a really strong candidate. You may have heard about him last cycle. Former union organizer, a true independent. I think had he been funded by the DC powers that be earlier on in the cycle, he might have actually won. He came within 6 points, and it obviously without Trump on the ballot this cycle in a place like Nebraska. That can really help enhance his chances. Colin Allred has also announced that he is running again for the Senate in Texas. I heard that there was a Zoom with Colin Allred, Joaquin Castro, and Beto O'Rourke to talk a few weeks ago about who was going to run. I think Joaquin Castro is still going to run, and Beto is not. And a former astronaut named Terry Virts is also in that race. So we're waiting to see what happens in the Democratic primary, the Republican primary. Um, Ken Paxton has been ahead of incumbent John Cornyn by double digits. Ken Paxton's wife just announced yesterday that she is divorcing her husband on biblical grounds, i.e., adultery. Unclear what this may do to his chances in that primary. I encourage you to go look up her announcement. It is different. Um, we're going to have another high profile candidate jumping in Maine against Susan Collins. Hopefully, more on that in the next week or two. And then hearing Roy Cooper is going to announce any day now in North Carolina, which will be a huge get for Democrats in that now open seat. Lots of House news too. Those races take a little longer to develop. I'm going to wait and talk about those more later this year and next year. In a lot of cases, we have multi-candidate primaries that are going to really help determine which races are most competitive. So in other political news, we continue to get the fallout from the big bullshit bill as people realize the provisions in there that are deeply unpopular. In particular, I just want to note that we have really changed the narrative on ICE and immigration by calling out the stories of the people who are impacted, those who have been deported, um, American citizens, green card holders, and undocumented folks who have just been rounded up by these masked, unidentified people. This has really started to change how people feel about um, immigration in general and the overwhelming provisions in this bill. ICE will now be more heavily funded than the FBI, um, and it is Trump's personal I can't say that word, Gestapo, headed by the scary Kristi Noem and obviously Stephen Miller behind the scenes pulling those strings. So um, keep keep at it, keep reposting, keep talking about this with your friends who don't necessarily pay attention to politics, because this is how change happens. Obviously, Trump got tariff crazy again this week. I think that the taco stuff is really getting to him. He doesn't like being told he chickens out all the time, and so he's got to like impose some tariffs somewhere to prove a point. Clear how much that will impact anything, how long they'll be in effect. It's just kind of insane. And then the other news this week was a group of younger, in many cases more moderate Democrats formed a loose coalition called Majority Democrats. I think this is really smart. Like, we need to be doing this across all ideologies. We need all voices, from Mandami to Marjorie Gluesenkamp Perez. It is important that we're organizing ourselves, let primaries happen, let voters decide, everyone make their case. But I do like to see younger voices coming together, and I think that having these kind of they're not even internal squabbles. They're not even in many cases about ideology. It's about approach and about temperate and about kind of shaking things up. And I think all of that's a good thing. The last thing I want to touch on is, 2028 has begun, as I said. Gavin Newsom, Roy Khanna, and Andy Bashir are all planning trips to South Carolina. Amy Klobuchar is going to New Hampshire. And the DNC continues to have discussions over the primary calendar and which states will be first. The big four having traditionally been Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. Michigan's been in that mix. So we'll continue to pay attention to where prospective candidates are going. So again, don't forget, waves start with a ripple. We all have to get out there and do our part. Go to your Good Trouble protest on July 17th and talk to you next week. Thanks.